Welcome to Tell the Damn Story, the show that explores the many ways to navigate the successes and failures that aspiring and struggling writers face to make your journey that much easier.
Alex Simmons!
Yes, Chris Ryan! Yes,
God.
It is me, it is you, it is us.
We have done the impossible.
Have we? What did we do? What did we do?
Mere mortals said, those two? Those two? They'll never get to episode 200. They would never do that much work for their dozen members of their audience. Yes, we would. Yes, we would.
Yes, you would. And you did.
And we are here.
Did. Yes, right here.
You were there.
And you're where you are, which is where?
I am in the blue void.
For those of you who can't see the visuals here. Yes.
There's no visuals. There's none. It's just me and a light pale blue void. That's where I am.
Cabana boy or pool boy here. But you're on vacation. You're on vacation.
I'm on a little bit of a vacation. This void is brought to you by my sister's summer home in southern Jersey, and everybody else is in the pool.
Yeah.
And they turn the music on, so it's just outside. And it's a little early for libations, but they're splashing around.
Wasn't that a 50s rock group?
The Libations.
Yes. Woo! Okay.
I think they opened for the Big Bopper.
Yeah.
But they didn't get on the plane, thank God. So no American Pie for them. There you go. This episode of the Alex Simmons Time Machine was brought to you by Chris Ryan. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Alex and I discussed for about 50 episodes. So that's about 50 weeks. What we would do for the 200th episode. And man plans, God laughs. And we had so many plans.
Yes, multiple.
And fate or the good Lord or some guy in a computer room in Detroit, somebody said no to all our plans. And Alex, being the spiritually connected human being that he is, ladies and gentlemen, spoke to me earlier this week and said, sometimes you have to accept the message that's being sent, which is episode 200 is meant to be just us. That's right. And there's a justice to just us, ladies and gentlemen. So today, Alex, you and I are going to look back at our 199 previous episodes.
Actually, we're going to go back even further than that, but I'll let you finish your wonderful intro. Yeah.
Further than that? Yep. Back when we were just zygotes.
So we're actually going to go back and we're going to look at...
not that far?
Some of the episodes, yes. We're going to look at some of the episodes and some of the people, both emerging writers, established writers, celebrities, some of the wonderful tips and experiences and stories and interviews about the writing process and all the things that we've done. Actually, I found out two things because I don't remember these things. I have to go and I have to look. Our 200th episode, which is today, actually the number 1 to 199, the number 1 episode for this actually started when we jumped onto this particular platform or the particular platform of Anchor.fm. In other words, when we went to podcasting primarily. But actually, the original Tell the Damn Story with Chris Ryan and myself and
Tim
Fielder.
Co-founder. Tim Fielder.
Right. Artist extraordinaire. Actually started back in April. Actually, it was April 24th of 2015. What? 6 years ago.
What?
Yes. So we've actually, there are more.
And it was on a different platform.
Yes, it was on YouTube.
It was on YouTube, and you can still find those.
Yes,
they're rare.
No matter how much you run.
That's right.
Yes, but you can still find. And there were a lot of visual things because Tim was giving tips on artistry and how he did not only drawing, but all
it got funky because while you and I talked, he would just draw.
Yeah.
And then he started drawing. He was drawing quickly things we were talking about.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he drew, it was a Tim-centric episode, and he drew what became a cover of our Blackjack freebie,
Yeah.
and then challenged us to write the story for it.
There you go.
And what was the name? What was ultimately the name of that story?
Red Star. Oh, something of the Red Star. That's bad. That's bad. Something of the Red Star. What was it?
It's
Something.
the
Challenge.
what would they do with the flag?
Yeah, no, it's the Red Star. It's something of the Red Star. And I haven't looked at that
I'm gonna-
particular because
I'm going to look it up for us.
we've done books and stories since then.
But if you remember that,
Rise of the Red Star.
Rise of the Red Star.
Rise of the Red Star.
And what was my reaction to that challenge?
You immediately took off like a bat out of hell. And
remember Welcome Back, Kotter? Let's go with the Alex Simmons time machine again. It was like Horseshack. I was like, oh.
It's like a combination of Horseshack and Tootie from Car 54. See, that's my Wayback Machine moment there.
And ladies and gentlemen, you can get Rise of the Red Star for free if you go on to my website, Chris Ryan Writes, or Alex Simmons. Which website should they go to?
Blackjack Adventures. BlackjackAdventures.com.
And you can get it for free, and you can marvel. Watch at no pun intended. You can marvel at the great cover by Tim Fielder, and then see what we did with the story. But yeah, that was a creation right here.
Yeah.
We also had some of our dozen listeners, the vast audience. We have an audience of dozens. They wrote in with a story challenge for us one time.
Yep.
And we wrote stories about that and read them out, right?
Yeah, we did. The whole thing was, again, what we've tried to do with the show over the years is really take you through the creative process from our POV, from other people's, other artists and writers and illustrators' point of view, giving tips and things like that, and just really trying to be supportive and also, what would I call it, bang the drum for the arts, because the arts are quite often lost in the shadows, but really are our saving graces. It's one of the things that gets a lot of human beings through some very hard times. And also imagination and the arts are one of the things that are put down the most in just the average individual who maybe has an idea, would love to write something, would love to draw something, would love to dance or whatever. And people are going, oh, get a real job, do this, do that. It's always getting beaten down. And I think that one of our things was to say, whether you want to try to be an artist on a professional level, or you're doing it for yourself, either way, it's valid. Expressing yourself is valid, and you can go for it.
And we showed that support for Tim Fielder and the strength of his storytelling, even when he didn't finish the art. After Charlottesville, he sent us, I think it was 8 pages of sketches.
Yes.
For something that, if I remember correctly, it was called Seconds Left to Live.
Yep.
Once again,
another Blackjack story. Yeah.
The Blackjack story. And again, I did ooh. And I wanted to give something a shot. And I think it was the Our Father I used, or the Hail Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was the sum total of the text for the story. That's how powerful Tim's very loose sketches were. And we did it for Charlottesville. And the idea was to get it finished, but Tim Fielder exploded into a multi-galaxy superstar. And his fame went, might I say, infinitum. And available now anywhere a book is sold. But it was so busy that he did not get back to that. And then George Floyd happened. And we talked again, and it takes time. You can't whip out art in a half an hour. So with Tim's blessing, you and I presented that on an episode of Tell the Damn Story, where we showed the sketches, again with Tim's blessing, and read I actually think you should have read it, not me, because you have more experience with voiceovers. So knock on wood, I'd hate for there to be another tragedy that inspires us, but maybe sometime we'll do that. Then it will be all three of us combining skills.
Get the band back together, that sort of thing would be cool. But one of the things, again, yes, it's terrible that the tragedy was the inspiration for those 2 moments that you're talking about. But again, Tim and you and I also really did just dig down and give really good examples of what it is like to create a comic book or to create story and create characters and to build a story plot, and what it's like to plot along sometimes when it's not easy, it's not coming to you, when you're confused and you're lost. And I think that, again, if anyone wants to look for the YouTube episodes, that's great. You'll see more of Tim.
And funky. You'll never see anything like that. No one did that.
Yeah. Let's just say there wasn't professional camera work and all that. The studio execs didn't fork up a lot of money for that one. So we had to do it all ourselves, right?
That, our budget was 18 cents.
Yeah, well, that and a pack of gum.
Now, we've renegotiated. We're up to 27 cents now.
Yeah, I think it was really good the way you handled the threat that you'd walk out if we didn't get that.
Right. I will crawl out. That's what I said. All right, so ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say something, but you say something.
No, please go.
No, go ahead.
I'm going to dive into long lists.
Okay.
Better you speak.
Then let me just do this quickly. We had episode 1 was April 24th of 2015. That was episode 1 of Tell the Damn Story, complete on YouTube. Yes. And there's about, I think there's about 29 or 30 videos that I can put my hands on. That's that we amazing. Went through, that we did that. So
this is our 230th episode, and nobody celebrates 230. Tell the damn story.
Right. But our first episode on Anchor was February 25th, 2018.
There you go.
So starting from there, we built consistently as a podcast. So
we built this city.
Yeah,
Justin Airplane's going to get mad at us.
So go ahead. You're going to hit on a list.
We were talking about how we've tried to be a free writer's school. And I've made a list. Well, there's a couple of lists, but we'll do a chunk of time.
Lists, actually.
If you're looking for writing advice or how to, I got a few things that we've covered as a means of teaching writing. Now, this was just a quick list. Over the 200 podcasts, there's some other stuff you can find on YouTube, as we've established. But let's see. And they are in no order because it just got too crazy for me. So go to the podcast, go to Tell a Damn Story, go to all episodes and scroll through whatever you need.
Yeah, there'll be a link here for you folks.
Yeah, included in there. And Alex, this never happens on Tell the Damn Story. But should there be something that you want to make a comment about, just stop me. Chris, don't wait. Because that's never happened on 200 episodes.
Let's just say it's not that easy to stop you sometimes, but okay, go ahead.
And we've never talked over each other either.
Yeah, so, really?
You know why?
Because we're so damn polite. Yes.
That's right.
I tell you one thing we also have never done is we never give spoilers. So there you go. That's where we've never done spoilers.
Yes. The rest of the world is spoilers. Yeah. To that end.
Yes.
Next week, the 201st podcast episode, I want to do a deep dive into Loki, and that will be long enough to talk about the finale. Yes?
That's absolutely true. Yes.
We're saving that for Alex, so we're not spoiling it. Dozens of listeners out here are going like this. Woo! Because I didn't see anything spoiled in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Right, so
there you go. But anyway, so your list.
This is like writing school kind of advice, right? How-to kind of stuff. Among other things, we've talked about meeting deadlines, creating suspects and red herrings, feeding the muse, flinch books, and how to publish independently. We've talked about horror and Halloween style stories. We talked about your course, Get Your Right On. We've talked about cozy mysteries. We used both DC Cinematic Universe and Marvel Cinematic Universe as tools to show examples of writing styles or characterizations or world building. We talked about how to write through COVID and how to get back out there post-COVID.
Absolutely.
Talked about cozy mysteries, getting support from organizations like Sisters in Crime, Mystery Writers of America, Horror Writers of America, and so on. We've talked about working through illness or self-care, how to know the difference. Right?
I think I will jump in right there. And
ladies and gentlemen,
yeah,
Alex Simmons.
Yeah, I will say there that we've had actually several episodes dealing with that from different angles. One of them that stands out is we had an author who talked about his battle with depression.
Yep, that's coming up. Yeah.
Yep, and he is successful in the comic book writing industry, and I think he's got a particular project. I won't mention it right now, but stay with us for a few more episodes. It'll come back. But anyway, he's got a project right now that I believe has been optioned. So that's pretty cool. Again, even with things working right, sometimes we get into a funk, and depending on the level of that funk, it impacts on us tremendously. We've had people talk about that. We've actually had a conversation with two different psychologists on, again, not only the writer or the creator's mindset in terms of dealing with challenges, trauma, and adversity, but also in how certain pop culture material impacts
Genres,
on it
yeah.
or reflects that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we go deep sometimes.
We do
you know
go
what I'm saying?
deep.
Yeah.
Both of those psychologists talked about using pop culture to help access trauma and deal with trauma and heal. And superheroes and horror, you would think that has no place in a therapy session. And we were able to, by listening to them, prove no, they're there.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about self-care. Sometimes you just need to sit down and watch a superhero movie or get a good scare. And also we talked about the business. Often we talked about the business of writing and publishing and Hollywood and all that sort of stuff. We talked about the Twilight Zone and how it's another good example of studying a piece of pop culture to see, you take it apart to see how it was put back together. And we've talked about both old and new.
Right, exactly. Because the other thing that we were able to show with that by talking about Twilight Zone, Rod Serling versus Twilight Zone, Jordan Peele, is how where society is at a certain time, reflects the art, and the art reflects them and the sensibilities. Because the Twilight Zone episodes, a la Rod Serling, definitely dealt with issues, with social issues and things like that. And so does Jordan Peele's reboot or remake of the Twilight Zone. But again, the sensibilities of society and the artists who are driving these projects are different. And so it's just interesting to see how they approach it.
And since you've brought that up, we've also talked about when the issue was Michael B. Jordan as Superman, pro or con, and that happened. We've also talked about the use of N-words and how you and I had a conversation, and we had surprisingly different stances on whether the N-word should be in Blackjack. And I was just adamant that that word shouldn't be used, and you had a whole different view on it. We also talked about whether or not it was something that I came up with and I was concerned with, especially with the rise of cancel culture and this kind of weird rulemaking that is out there on social media now. Like, you can't do this. And we had at least 2 episodes when we talked about, can I, as a pale human, write Blackjack, who has more richly hued than I am.
He of the darker hue, yes.
Rich brown, as opposed to fading fast, translucent than I am. But I was exploring that as what you couldn't do. And Alex had a very strong, some statements on that. So if that's something you're struggling with, jump in and find those.
And again, I think even in that conversation, which was specific in terms of dealing with race, but it also, at least I feel, the analogy and my response to it goes larger than that, covers a larger field, because it really, the bottom line of it is do your homework. And that's a creed that every writer should live by, no matter what he or she, they, them, whatever. When you're writing something that isn't your life experience or isn't the world in which you live, then do your homework. And if you want to get it right, do your homework.
And we spoke about that regarding LGBTQ characters as well. Plus, I didn't get all the letters in, I apologize. And divination, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the full title there, but having gotten great feedback from them and the blessing of support from a community that you might not be a member of, but you're trying to include, and some guidance on how to do it correctly. It was so nice of them. Divination Hollow, I think it was called. And that's the website. .com, I guess. And they were looking for horror with representation. And I thought the scariest thing a member of the LGBTQ community could go through is being made to suffer for who they are, and learned that's exactly the story they don't want to revisit. They want to be included in a horror or in an adventure as a member of the community, which is what I did in Genius High. So I overthought it, and they were very generous in that. Alex was, when we were talking about whether or not I could write blackjack, he wanted to reach through the laptop and smack me on top of my forehead. But and Divination Hollow was not, they did, I never felt the slap on the forehead. They were very supportive.
Strange, you earthlings. Yes, go
There
ahead.
you go. Alex Simmons's Time Machine is also a mini writing masterclass on examples of stuff from the past, and in Alex's case, often the way past, that is still holds up as an example of this kind of style or that kind of writing style, or a twist in how the hero might save somebody or whatever.
And I want to just share there, because I had an experience with that recently with a class.
With your Time Machine?
With my Time Machine and a bunch of young folk. I teach at the New York Film Academy. I teach screenwriting and storytelling. And I was working very recently with a group of teenagers. And when I say teenagers, somewhere 16, 15, 16, that range. And part of the process was screening some films and then analyzing them. And so I reached around to have 3 different, very different kinds of films. And one of them was Rear Window, the Alfred Hitchcock Rear Window.
Classic.
So again, 1954 is when the film was made. All right.
Way before my time.
Yes, I was here. I won't say how old I was, but I was here. But I was not in the movie. And so I showed this film, it runs almost 2 hours, to this group of teens. And then we had a 2-part experience after that. One was getting their reaction to the film. And I was pleasantly surprised because of the sensibilities of the film and a number of the storytelling elements. I was pleasantly surprised to see how the teenagers actually all enjoyed the film, although they all had certain reactions that were not as favorable to certain parts of it, but that was to be expected, and that was fine. Right. But what was more exciting to me was I broke them up into 2 groups and said, okay, how would you take this theme and these 3 central characters and tell this story now through your lens, right?
Which is a great exercise.
Right. So one group did something that was, shall we say, more conventional, but interesting. And then the other group went bonkers, and they made it really. So I got to share this because it's the excitement of creativity and imagination and just going for it. For those of you who don't know the plot of Rear Windows, it's a guy who's sitting in his apartment overlooking a courtyard, a backyard courtyard, so he can see the apartments of many of his neighbors. And he happens to be looking when he suspects that there was a murder committed. And it's all about what he does and tries to do to convince the police and everybody that there was a murder.
Right. So and this has been stolen recently in like Girl on a Train and all that. Yeah. They all owe a
that trope is fairly familiar.
Yeah.
So what they did was, instead of it being the neighbors that you could see across a courtyard, they made it multi-dimensional. And a character who accidentally found a portal that allowed him to drop into or pass through into 3 different dimensions.
Wow.
And he witnesses these incidents. I won't give away too much, but he witnesses these incidents, including a murder, which the way they set it up not only impacts that he can't affect what he saw in any of these sort of jumps. He can't interact with everything, but he can see these things. So he witnesses this murder, and when he gets back to his own dimension, what he saw will directly impact on him and the other characters within his dimension that he has to interact with.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So again, it's partially about the flexibility of your mind and your imagination and not judging, not immediately saying that, oh, that's probably a dumb idea or probably can't do it. Can I do this? And what if? And those kind of exciting moments, the playing with the pieces, that's exciting. And then it's the work is in making it manifest. And so I was just saying that what we've done with Tell the Damn Story over the years and over the multiple episodes is try to encourage that in our listeners, however many or few there are, to have that experience for themselves as well as for the benefit of their potential audience.
Yeah. And I will own up to, you saw much more grace from Alex just then than you saw from me, because I said Rear Window had been stolen for things like Girl on a Train and all that sort of stuff. And he was like, it's been an influence. And so it's, and of course we understand that Alex learned that grace in elementary school from his classmate Abe Lincoln.
It was Betsy Ross, but Betsy was really graceful.
She was classy, that Betsy.
Yeah, her and Harriet used to hang by the swings later. Anyway,
so this is becoming a little bit of a window into looking back and little mini lessons for people. So I'm going to give you one or two more that I'd love you to react to, because we have also spoken about giving a how-to and our experiences in public speaking. And if you had to say one thing to people on our 200th episode, what would you tell them about public speaking if they were going to read their story in public for the first time or be on a panel for the first time?
A lot of people are not as comfortable with that experience. They're nervous or shy or whatever. And I would say you do things, to try and help you settle into the reality that you're going to do it. And one of those is rehearse. Whatever the material is that you're going to be presenting, or even if you're going to be speaking from the heart, if you can give yourself an opportunity to say, okay, what am I going to be talking about? And if it's something written, read through it, speak it out loud. If you have an opportunity to run it by a few people before you get out there, fine. But if it's going to be like, I only got an hour or a half hour, read through it so that you can become more familiar with the material as it's laid out.
Right.
If you're going to be speaking from the heart and you're on a panel or something like that, become as comfortable as you can with the fact that you're going to be speaking about something, conversation. You do not have to sound like a Harvard graduate unless you happen to be one. But the reality is you're going to speak about something that you have done or you have thought about or you have experienced, and you're sharing that view.
Right.
And so take your time, choose your words as best you can, and be you. Just try and be natural. I have been in multiple situations, both locally, nationally, and internationally. And consistently, the thing that has helped me the most is to be myself. And I can be a wacky, weird kind of guy, and there are appropriate places for that. But I don't try not to be Alex Simmons. I don't try to be something I'm not. I can raise or lower the level of how exuberant I might be, or funny or talkative or whatever. But ultimately, I've got to be myself, no matter where I go. And I'd say the same thing for anybody who's going to be doing any kind of public speaking or sales, is be yourself.
Excellent. And I would invert one of the classic pieces of advice. People always say, if you're nervous before you public speak, imagine the audience in their underwear. And I find that very distracting. What's that guy doing wearing a thong? Wait, she's wearing Wonder Woman underoos at her age? It's distracting. So if you want to relax, don't imagine them in their underwear. Imagine they're fully clothed and you're in your underwear. And then look down, you'll say, oh my God, I have pants. What a break. And you'll be so much.
Another one is don't look at them at all.
I am here to help.
I think you're here, you need help. The other one is, yes, you can look above the heads of your audience. If you're on a stage or something, look towards the back of the room or the auditorium or wherever, look above their heads and speak to that area, because it'll look like to them like you're looking
the
at
middle
it.
Void there, like this room. There's one other one that we get as far as this writing course aspect of Tell the Damn Story. Can you speak a little bit about the positive influence of failing? Because we had a couple of episodes about that.
We had episodes about it, plus we blew a few episodes.
What the hell? Yeah, it's because I was in my underwear.
Underoos. Go see
and they were Wonder Woman underoos, which was surprising to me.
Yeah,
but
I would. Oh God, I would say that it's sometimes difficult to see the positivity of failure, but the reality is, more often than not, something's not going to work. It's just not. You can go for 100% and you'll get 65 and you'll feel like you failed. Maybe you didn't get 100, but you got 65. And
Right.
so part of it is recognizing that you did it, that you went for it, that you took that step, no matter how nervous you were or how unsure you were, or the fact that not everything was perfect or prepared the way you wanted it to be, but you still took that step. Learn from those moments. And I won't even say mistakes, but learn from the moments that didn't work out exactly the way you wanted or envisioned they would. Why didn't they? It's the same thing when people are critiquing a film, and I do this in particular with my students. Say, oh, I didn't like that, or I didn't like him, or I didn't like her. I say, oh, really? Why? And you see them go,
Right.
I just plain old audience, which you're going to go home now and you're going to be a plumber or whatever, that's fine. But if you're going to try and create your own stories or perform in your own pieces, then you need to be able to dissect or analyze why something did or did not work for you. So, what did you feel? So, again, in terms of maybe something didn't go the way you wanted it to, why?
Right.
Try and identify that and decide what you want to do about that going forward, not backwards, not standing still, but going forward. What can I do to make it better the next time? Because if we don't fail, then we don't learn, we don't grow.
And the other thing is have realistic goals. I recently got a story rejected from Famous Monsters Unleashed, right? I just love the idea of this anthology that's coming out. And I knew that it was 75% assigned stories,
Mm-hmm.
and that they had filled up the remaining 25% almost completely. They had estimated there was a room for somewhere between 2 and 6 stories. Now, I had recently joined Horror Writers Association, and they was a classic Monsters Unleashed, I think is what it's called. They post there, so they were keeping kind of count for everybody, and it was just so much fun seeing all these people I know. Jim Beard was one of them. All were either saying I'm still gonna submit, or I just got rejected, but I love the company. That I was just inspired, and I had this idea. I said, you know what? It's a great writing assignment, great exercise. So I wrote the story, and it combined some of my loves. I can tell it now because it was not accepted. You had to do some of the classic Universal monsters,
Which is the Mummy, Frankenstein, Dracula, werewolf,
Wolfman,
right?
Wolfman, right?
Yeah.
And some you could name by name, and some you didn't, and all Bride of Frankenstein as well.
Okay.
And I didn't really name any of them by name. Like the Wolfman, I referred to as Lonnie, Lon Chaney Jr., and etc. That kind of style. But there's this bar in LA, Hollywood, called the Scum and Villainy Cantina. And it's designed, right? It's designed like the famous Scum and Villain or the cantina in Star Wars, Wretched Hive of Scum and Villainy. So that's where the name came from. So I just imagined that place would attract some cosplayers. So it wasn't that far a leap to say, if the actual Universal monsters were monsters that performed in the Universal films as a job, right? Where could they go and hang out and just talk but the Scum and Villainy Cantina, right? So I wanted to write that story, and I understood going in that when you say the chances are slim to none, they were much closer to none than, and it did get rejected, and it had a great supportive rejection letter. Those are always welcome if you can't get accepted, as long as they're nice.
Yeah, really. Don't quit your day job.
Now I have a story that, should I find a market that is somehow similar or looking for a Halloween, I can have fun with that, dust it off, maybe polish it, send it out again. But I have met that goal. If you had said, if I don't get published in there, then I'm not a writer, that's unrealistic because of how much of the book was already filled. Same thing if you're reading. First time I went up for a public reading, the goal was to not die. If I could get up, read it, and get out of there with a pulse, that was the goal, right? Anything after that, like if I was coherent,
yeah,
or if the people were interested enough to ask questions, that's all gravy. But sometimes there's people who have unrealistic expectations. I was at the
one of the things I do in that situation, I used to
Go
do a
ahead.
lot, was there was an
Hello.
old Abbott and Costello movie, something about the riverboat and everything. And there's a scene where Costello, who wants to be an actor on this riverboat, gets his chance to do a stand-up comedy for the audience on the riverboat. And he tells this lame joke. And at the end of the punchline, it is so dead quiet in that room that after a beat pause, you hear crickets.
Right.
And so I would play that in my head just before certain tense moments. And I would figure, if I don't hear crickets, I'm okay.
Yeah. There's a famous comedian, I'm not going to name his name, but he went to the Improv and Catch a Rising Star, and all the big guys were there, and he would get a minute, and his stuff would bomb. And he said, and I didn't care because I wanted to be in the room. I wanted to be able to stand along those guys, and they were kind enough to say, listen, that one has potential, just reverse the punchline or this or that. He goes, and that was where I learned rewriting. And that's where I learned, or take the mic and put it a little further from you, or this or that. It was just those little, and that's all learning your chops. And the same thing with any of this. So be realistic. All right.
Let me just quickly say, just segue here for a split second, because I don't know where you're going.
It's a segue, ladies and gentlemen.
But
here it comes. Are you ready?
Alex segue, or actually Alex Segura. Yeah, Alex Segura segue. Yes. Just to name some of the people that we've had on the show here, because you were talking about people sharing and giving tips to this comedian. So, author as well as media expert Alex Segura, who worked with DC and Archie, and is also a mystery writer, a writer of mystery novels. So he was on the show. We had Jerry Kraft before and after he won all the awards.
Way back.
Yes, we had him on, and Jerry was a comic strip illustrator and writer who, paying his dues until he got that chance to do the graphic novel, The New Kid, which won Newbery Awards and the Coretta Scott King Award and all these other awards. And it's a story that comes from his life experience.
But it also comes from him sticking with it.
Yeah.
He's a great example of, if you love it and you continue to do it, it comes together.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we had Tony Isabella.
Yeah, that was big. That was a big one.
Tony
Who did he create?
Yeah,
Who did he create?
Black Lightning.
Black Lightning, yeah. And he was funny too. Right. He's worth going back and listening to.
He absolutely that, and poignant, because Tony talked about the inspirations, the things that caused him to eventually, upon getting work at DC, to eventually create Black Lightning along with Trevor Von Eden. Some incident in Tony's life, his early life, that made such an impact on him that when he got the opportunity, this was a character that he wanted to see out there in the marketplace. We also had another individual who is prominently known for working with an influential African character as opposed to African American character. We had the wonderful Don McGregor on the show.
Don McGregor, easiest interview ever. Hi, Don, and we were done.
Because Don started talking and he just took it. He just took us on the ride for the entire hour plus. I think
still
we got
a great
three questions. But again, Don is known for his work with Black Panther, and in particular, Panther's Rage, which is a maxi series, 12-issue maxi series he wrote back, some 30, 40 years ago. And that,
but it's available in trade paperback.
Right. But that storyline is the storyline that the movie was based on predominantly.
Yeah.
And Don finally got that recognition all those years later.
If you pick up the Blu-ray or whatever of Black Panther, one of the extras or one of the features is a panel discussion, right? With all these creators and stuff. And you got Coogler and you got some of the later writers. And then you got this wee little lad.
Yeah. from Providence, Rhode Island, or Kingston, Rhode Island. Yeah. Don McGregor, yes.
And he's just a part of them. And you can see he's so excited to see what he did then get thrown up on the screen, and how many others and their work, how it influenced, and it all came together in myth making. So beautiful.
And another one of those examples of, as you just said a little while ago, Chris, if you're passionate about it, if you love it, stay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
Don is a very passionate writer, very passionate man, and the things that he is passionate about, he has stuck to or stood by. And it took, in certain cases, years
Yeah.
for him to finally reap the benefit of that, or some
Yeah.
benefit from that. But in his heart, he knew he was always steady on the compass. So
And
that was
just
another.
to remind our dozens of fans out there, one of the great things, one of the asterisks behind Don McGregor's name is that he is the one who put Alex Simmons in a film, Detectives Inc. And you can find some of that on YouTube. Don McGregor, Alex Simmons, Detectives Inc. And it is worth seeing a young, intimidating, badass mofo that is Alex Simmons, as written and directed by Don McGregor.
Oh God, yeah. You don't cut me any slack, do you?
Well, wait a second. When there is an old and dear friend, old and we've been friends for a long time, you are immortal, who has done so many things, it is right and just to tell our dozens of fans all the things that you have done.
Oh God.
It's just straight reporting as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I obviously don't come armed enough to remind folks of all the stuff you've done, but you're in it now. You're going to be in my crosshair because this guy has written a ton of stuff too. But I'm going to get better prepared next.
Watch this distraction, ladies and gentlemen. I have a list of most of the other people we've had on. Should I run through it?
Yeah, run through it. Go ahead.
There you go.
Right. And don't forget the doctors. Yes. Okay.
Dodged a bullet there.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, there are many people out there, almost as many as our fans are, who believe that this show, Tell the Damn Story, stars Cassine Gaines.
Yes.
Because he has been on the show so often.
That's right.
Also, like you said, Omar Holman, co-author of Cassine's latest book, Footnotes, is getting national attention.
Right.
But Omar Holman might have the other book of the summer, which is Black Nerd Problems. He co-wrote that. And if you haven't seen it, fix that. And then, of course, you mentioned Jerry Craft. We have Jim Beard and John C. Bruning, who we had on recently. Dr. Vanessa Hintz, Dr. Janina Scarlett, Alex Segura, which you mentioned, Jesse J. Holland, who is both a journalist
Black Panther,
and
Tales of Wakanda.
He edited that, yes. Eulogies. We had a couple of eulogies on this show. One was Chadwick Boseman. Another one was Stan Lee. Very alive and full of stories. The great Joe R. Lansdale gave us an interview.
Yeah.
Sisters in Crime presidents Linda Rawlings and Jane Kennedy.
Jane
Kelly, not Jane Kennedy. Though Alex would love to interview Jane Kennedy.
Yeah, well,
and so would I.
I wouldn't
but
run from that opportunity.
Don't tell the goddess.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. Sorry, don't cancel us. It's not our fault. Yes. Michael Uslan.
Yes.
We had a whole episode where he was doing a talk.
From
Don
San Diego.
McGregor we spoke about, the great Art Taylor, who I interviewed at Deadly Ink. And then years later, he blindly picked Hellhounds, the first Hellhounds story, to be included in Bujakon's 2020.
Hellhounds, which was written by
the one and only Christopher Ryan. How are you?
There you go. There you go.
All right. Let's see. Who else? R.G. Belsky, former journalist in New York City for tons of different things, famously involved in the most notorious New York Post headline ever, headless body in topless bar. He was one of the guys, one of the people who was involved in getting that headline in there. But he's done so much, and he has a great series of novels that out. He gave us an interview. Joab Stieglitz, L.A. DiPaolo, Teal James Glenn,
David Walker,
Aditu Salu.
Oh,
Edotu. We're going to talk about in places.
Yes, who is the chairman of the African Cartoon Center in Nigeria.
And we're going to talk about that because we're going to talk about how global this show is. But let's get through the rest of the list. Janet Winters writes about like horse mysteries.
Yeah, not mysteries where horses are solving them, but mysteries involving the world of horse riding and horses.
Although I think the horse community is waiting for that series.
Yeah, that's true.
They do reading when they're in their stalls.
The Winnie mystery. Yeah, okay.
That's right. Wheatley, who is an artist, and Henry Frankie, A.G. Sidransky, Carol Greislander, Sarah Light Walker, Dion Stallworth, Colin Richards, Eric Battle, and last but never least, one of our dozens of fans, the great Maureen Britt was interviewed here.
Yes,
too.
this is true.
And that we didn't get everyone, but I ran out of space. There's just no more space here.
Right.
You talked about.
Well, you said international. Where have we gone? Where
we
have we
go
gone?
there.
We've been on the road. We've been on the road.
Again, this is a partial list, but the places we've reported from or visited and interviewed people or brought back tales from.
Yep.
Okay. Broadway.
Yep. Absolutely.
That was mostly Casino Games. Pulp Fest in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Deadly Ink in South Jersey. And then I lose the travel privileges. And then it becomes Alex Simmons, who he starts off light, right? He just goes down to Philly for the ECBACC, which stands for
ECBAC, East Coast Black Age of Comics Con Convention. Right. Yes.
And he goes, we both have reported from the New York City Comic Con, but he also goes to the San Diego Comic Con. This is still when he was national. And what did you do while you were there? What did you do? What did you pick up?
Oh, okay. So I picked up an Inkpot Award.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
That was nice.
That's the kind of people you're listening to. All right, the one person. That's the one person.
No, you've got some awards under your belt too. And then
they're under my belt.
The second time,
they're only that big, so we can put them under the belt.
The second time I was back in San Diego was for the Eisner Award judging.
That's right. You were a judge for
because
the
I remember
Eisner
I was
Awards.
standing in a skyscraper building overlooking downtown San Diego while recording our episode.
Yes, and not the weirdest place. Like me recording from somewhere else is something that we've done fairly regularly.
Yeah.
Because you also recorded an episode with me while I was in another part of Jersey, and you were in.
Yeah, which place this time?
Holy shit! Oh, excuse me. Where was it?
Helsinki.
Were you in Helsinki?
Yeah, I was in Helsinki.
Yes, you were, but there was another place. Was it Lagos, Nigeria? Was that where you were calling from?
No, I wasn't.
Helsinki.
I didn't talk to you from Africa. I spoke to you from Russia. I spoke to you from Helsinki, Finland. I believe I spoke to you from, there was another location.
There was, and I wrote it down, but you should see this. This is ridiculous. Serbia, yes, that was the other one. Yes. Serbia, yes. And I'm standing by a train track in New Jersey outside a restaurant because my life's tough. And standing up the goddess who is so patiently waiting inside while I recorded an entire episode with Alex, and Alex is calling from Serbia. So he has been to Russia, to Helsinki, Finland, to Serbia. We have brought back reports. Okay, he has from Africa, Lagos, Nigeria. Yeah, bro. Oh, you've also talked about your hijinks in Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen,
there are a few more stories to come on that one. Yes. But we have, because we're getting close to the hour, there was a couple of things that we said that we would announce in this episode. One of them is your thing, right?
My thing.
Yes. We talked about this prior to the show. There was something. Oh, yes.
We definitely did not talk about my thing during the show. It's a family show, Alex.
Behave. We talked about that you were about to embark.
I am fully embarked.
Yes, your
ship
has left the docks.
Yeah, Elvis has left the building, ladies and gentlemen. I'm retired, and that has worked out. From teaching. So
30
now,
years.
From 30 years, I think that was enough to respect the profession, which I love so much. And I may teach again sometime. I'd like to be an adjunct somewhere, but not for this first year because I'm embarking on the life of a full-time author. And I've noticed that since retirement, I've been, I don't know if I can use this word these days, but transitioning from teacher mode to writer mode. And I definitely needed, as do so many teachers and other professionals, I needed some time to heal from that COVID year. but the full-time author mode is happening. And I am finding myself inspired and reborn. Matter of fact, I was at a reading for Horror Writers Association as a member of the audience. And this horror poet, and then this horror writer, but also visual artist. They performed back to back. And this story exploded out of me like aliens. But I don't write poetry as a go-to. I have in the past, and there are specific, very free form poets that I enjoy and I've studied. But in the time they were performing, while I was paying attention to them, I was also writing at the same time. So it was very subliminal or subconscious. And the roughs of 10 poems came out from a very specific point of view. And it has become narrative. And we're going to continue in that. And we're going to see where it goes. But I'm excited about that. And excited I have a book that has been rewritten and it's finished. I have another one that I have to decide what to do with it, but it's almost there. I have another follow-up to Juniors High or link to Juniors High, and that's 2/3 done. It's very productive year. If you can give me 1 minute.
Yes,
I
hear your young one. I hear the dog. Yes, the hound. The hound.
Hold on.
Ooh, my nose.
Come here, Bo.
That's his Bow Wow, who's head of security at Seamus Nunzio.
You want to be on the show? Come on. Okay.
Hold on. That was security.
I don't know if he wants to be on the show. We're gonna find out. He wants to be behind the show. Yeah. He's behind the scenes, ladies and gentlemen.
Been here so long. He's checking on security.
Actually, there's a puppy here as well, and he's no longer a puppy. He feels like he's mature, and he doesn't want to hear anything. Come here, Baba. He doesn't want to hear anything about that puppy. So I will give you a rare behind-the-scenes look. There's a guest room, not our room, but
where'd he go? Oh, there he is.
There he is. There's Sonny. Sonny.
Thank you for the Sonny. Hey, Sonny. How you doing?
How are you? You okay? He's got that puppy, bro. So we might be distracted there. So that's what's happening with me. Stay tuned. Lots of stuff coming out. And Alex, there was something that you were going to announce as well.
Yeah, there's a
Did I cover everything I was supposed to cover?
I believe you did, sir. You did. And I will.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for Alex Simmons to reveal all. Yes, you've been waiting for it.
No, never all.
Here's the full Alex.
Yeah. Oh, God, I suppose the full Monty. I had this eclectic life creatively. And as Chris has so, fondly pointed out, I've done a lot of stuff and I've traveled and all that kind of thing. And I'm very pleased and honored.
You've had a lot of time.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. So you are going to get pummeled. I'm still, I think because I tend to try and look forward, I'm always looking forward to what's next or what I can do next or who I can help next or however that works, that I sometimes forget to take a moment to reflect on what I've done and where I've been and what I've accomplished. And about a week ago, as I was looking at a stack of old notebooks of ideas and bits and pieces of dialogue and stories and things like that, I was thinking, I'm going to throw out all these spiral notebooks. I'm probably never going to get back into them, even though I keep saving them because I want to. No, I'm going to throw them out. And I get a phone call or a message from a friend, and I respond to it, and I get into this conversation with him. And to make a long story short, at the end of the conversation, the friend, who is a friend and also an associate, makes a request of me that threw me for a loop. And I reacted in two ways. One, I was stunned, surprised, pleasantly surprised and stunned, and quietly sat there for a moment thinking about this. And I will say what that request or offer was in a moment. And then because I had been looking at all this stuff that I had done, and it also made a list of things that I had written, which sort of surprised me because I'd forgotten I'd written so much stuff. It quieted me down as opposed to going, oh, I went, oh, really? Okay. And so I took a few days to think about it, and I finally agreed.
Did you agree to, Alex?
Yes. The archivist at Columbia University has asked me to donate some of my works, which is not only the things that I have written, but the notes and the process and some speeches and things that I've made and all of that, to donate a certain amount of that material to the Columbia University Archives.
How about that, ladies and gentlemen?
And I'm still thrown because there's some heavies. There's some heavy people that I respect tremendously, people who are extremely well known, who've had this honor bestowed upon them, and to be included in that, I feel in some ways a little bit more, but I feel a little bit like I did when the Inkpot Award was offered too.
Snuck up on you.
Yeah, it does. It sneaks up on you. And I hold both these things in esteem, in great
Of
esteem.
course.
And then, as I've done in both cases, I look at who else has been and I go, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow.
No, and that just goes to show everybody that Alex Simmons is the esteemed Alex Simmons. And I am esteem adjacent. Yes.
You're the adjunct esteem.
It's a beautiful thing, but it also it's a typical thing for you, Alex, because you do not spend a lot of time thinking about your greatness. Oh, I am Alex Simmons. You just live your life and collect experiences, which is a beautiful way to live your life. But you also, it's probably the ultimate lesson. And for episode 200, that's a fantastic thing. It's the ultimate lesson that it's about the work.
Mm.
There are so many writers that I'm going to write this book and it's going to be a bestseller and I'm never going to have to work again. And I don't know what that job is that you're applying for, but it's not being an author. It's not.
Yeah.
And you have been someone who has, I did a profile on you for Pulp Fest, and you can find it in pulpfest.com. But it kind of catalogs your earliest adventures, collecting experiences and storytelling, where you went down a dark alley and knocked on a door, and there's a shadowy room full of men you didn't know. And you and your buddy went in there, and anything could have happened. But what did happen was you got to watch old time serials with them, pulp adventures and that kind of stuff. And that's a truly unique Alex Simmons experience. And then you turn around and say, that was so great. And your buddy was like, that was so great. My dad has a camera. So you made your own serial. And that's the Alex Simmons method. Absorb art, learn from art, be influenced and energized by art, and create art. And that has been you and my experience of you. And then support art, because that's what you've done my entire time that I've known you. Your first job was to show this guy. I don't know what he's doing, but let's see what we can do with that play he wrote for us. So yeah, that's Alex Simmons, ladies and gentlemen. And Columbia is right. I know they were worried. They wanted to know what I thought. Columbia, you're right. Columbia's, you just saw the entire campus go, whoo, thank God.
Yeah, Chris says we're doing good. Let's go for it. Yeah, let me just throw this down there too, that for all of the 35 plus years that I've known you, you have been equally giving and growing. You've been growing as an artist and as a person. You've been giving constantly of your experiences, your talents, and your viewpoint to your students. You've dedicated to your students tremendously. And one can look at just two in particular that I can think of, Cassine Gaines and Omar Holman.
Both of whom have the books of the summer.
Yeah, and they both give credit where credit is due. You were
That's right, to their editor.
I'm going to smack you in a moment. Did I interrupt while you were doing the soliloquy?
I'm so sorry.
Bottom line is you were there. You helped encourage them and give them that little nudge that said, yeah, keep on going down that creative path. Keep exploring. I got your back. You can always knock on my door and I'll give you whatever tips I can. And you did. And literally, they are where they are now. And they still come knocking, even just to say hello. I feel that in your retiring and taking this time now, this is your time and you're certainly entitled to it. I do feel in some ways that those students who have had you gained some.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Seeing games.
Yeah,
Thank
isn't
you.
that cute? Shut up. And it is fortunate if other students somewhere down the line also have a chance to spend some time with you because you have a lot to give.
Well,
And that's what I have to say.
well,
And
thank
on
you
that
very
note,
much. And hopefully, I'd love it to be in tutorials in cons or conventions, or maybe I want to get a few more things traditionally published, and then maybe we'll adjunct somewhere, that kind of thing. Maybe we'll just start with one of those local, you get that flyer or that little booklet, adult learning. You can learn taekwondo or sewing or meditation
or mystery writing,
sensual massage or writing with Chris Ryan.
Yeah. I will say that what we're gonna say as we wind this up is that the journey we've been on for over 6 years and that have led to 2 versions of Tell the Damn Story, being this one that's reached its 200th episode, is that, again, we've been about sharing the creative experience, sharing our experiences of it, sharing what we can to aid others in their pursuits, and also applauding many of the accomplishments that have been made, the creative experiences that have been successful out there, from television and films and books and short stories and poetry and music, and diverse audiences and diverse crowds and diverse creators. That's a lot of what we've tried to do with the show. And I know that as we go forward, however many episodes are ahead of us, that we will try and do that and more. And so we would hope that you will continue to stop by every week and enjoy whatever we can put out there, and also contribute. Let us know what you're thinking, what you would like to hear, what your thoughts are about what we've said, what's tripping you up in your creative pursuits, if that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And we'll respond as best we can. But it's been a good run, and I look forward to the next phase.
There you go. Me too.
Okay.
It's been an honor and a pleasure, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Even in this void.
Ditto to you two. And now I'm going to let you go jump into the pool, wherever it is that you are in the Jersey Shore there, where everybody else is. And I'm going to go get a cool drink and put my feet up. Yes.
There you go.
Okay, so everybody take
ladies and
care.
Gentlemen, I'd like to thank all 12 of you. No, I know we have a little more than that.
I'm
we
gonna
have
smack him. I
dozens
swear I'm
with
gonna
us.
smack him.
And
the
please-
moment we do this show face to face, I'm gonna smack you once.
Please tell your friends.
Yeah.
So that we can get more than dozens.
Yeah.
That would be
more
cool.
than dozens.
And then, yeah,
The world! The world!
We'll start selling weird things.
Yeah. Take
All
care,
right,
everybody.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Peace, brother. It is always a pleasure.
You got it, Chris. Bye-bye, everybody.